Yeah, I get it. I missed the date. It's not exactly 1 year later. In fact, it's a year and, 2 days after the entire anniversary. So happy belated birthday to this incredible, absolutely league-shaking trade. Because today what we're doing is going over one of the biggest moves we have seen in the NHL pretty much in this decade's worth of action, and how, at the end of the day, you can say this trade was a win. Today, we are reviewing the Erik Karlsson trade 1 year after it happened, courtesy of NHL Network, because what they did was they went out there and tweeted about the event and the festivities, August 6, 2024 was when this tweet was posted, and it talks about how on August 6, 2023, the Erik Karlsson to Pittsburgh trade ended up going down. The question is, how would you grade this trade for all three teams a year later? This is the trade going down as follows. On August 6, 2023, the Pittsburgh Penguins received Erik Karlsson, Rem Pitlick, Dylan Hamaliuk, and a 2026 third. The San Jose Sharks received Mikael Granlund, Jan Rutta, Mike Hoffman, and a 2024 first-round pick, which was traded to Buffalo. And Montreal received Jeff Petrie, Casey DeSmith, Nathan Legare, and a 2025 second-round pick. Now, the funny part is, a lot of these assets actually did not end up playing for the Montreal Canadiens, nor did we see any of the picks get used either. But if you wanted to break it down team by team, the Montreal Canadiens got involved into this three-team swap by trading away Rem Pitlick to Pittsburgh and Mike Hoffman to San Jose. Those were the two assets that Montreal gave up in this trade, and in exchange for all of that, they got themselves the assets that they had received. Now, Casey DeSmith did not end up suiting up for the Canadiens. He was actually traded to Vancouver for Tanner Pearson and a third-round pick. So already, that's one of the assets being flipped for an immediate benefit for the Montreal Canadiens. You also had yourselves Jeff Petrie, who was traded over to the Detroit Red Wings with salary retained in exchange for Gustav Lindstrom and a fourth, so there you go, even more draft capital being acquired by the Montreal Canadiens here. And then you had yourselves the other asset, Nathan Legare, traded for Arnaud Durando, but he ended up not re-signing with the Canadiens, so unfortunately it's just kind of a dead end with that trade. But either way, the Habs got themselves a bunch of picks, they got themselves a bunch of extra salary that they're going to have to hold on to, but it's okay because they're kind of in a rebuild right now. They can afford to weaponize that cap space. And in return, they only gave up two assets that you could say weren't really all too valuable for Montreal in general. Like, I'm sorry, Mike Hoffman, but the guy had a scoring touch for sure, but he didn't really do anything else aside from that. And then, of course, you have yourselves the Rem Pitlick that swapped around as well. He's not the best player, but he works hard, and I think a lot of people have come to appreciate all of the Pitlick brothers, or not even Pitlick brothers, but like the family. Yeah, some of them are brothers, others are cousins, but either way, the Pitlicks are pretty fine. Montreal, though, shelling out those two assets in Pitlick and Hoffman to get a whole bunch of draft picks, or assets that they would inevitably turn into draft picks. Awesome work there by Kent Hughes. Big win for the Canadiens, right? Now, if you go over to some of the other teams here, this is where you talk about some of the wins for them. Because San Jose grabbing Mikael Granlund in this deal, I'm sorry, bro, but Mikael Granlund had a huge bounce-back year in the San Jose Sharks system. He was a number one center, playing with Fabian Zetterlund of all people, and that guy just popped off. You know how annoying I was getting throughout the 23-24 season, right? About my fantasy league and how Hot Take Hockey, John, went out there with his own league that I was a part of, and it was really competitive, and everybody was going out there with the crazy point distribution, hits and blocks and everything were worth almost as much as goals and assists. But a lot of these San Jose guys did so well, and Mikael Granlund was consistently one of the more underrated free agent pickups that you could bring onto your team. So throughout the year, I was kind of adding Granlund, dropping Granlund, adding Zetterlund, dropping Zetterlund, depending on if I had open spots on left wing or on center. Mikael Granlund was a beast this previous year. He used to be, like, even better, but throughout his career, he went through multiple ups and downs. He was in the Minnesota system, was a 60, maybe 70-point guy over there, but didn't really maintain that spot, and then eventually he went over to Nashville, and it was kind of a process there, but now, I mean, 60 points in 69 games played with the San Jose Sharks, that is certainly not bad, and when you consider that the San Jose Sharks got out of that Erik Karlsson deal, they feel very, very good about this trade too. Not to mention all the extra assets that they had gotten, Ruda, Hoffman, and the pick that was traded to Buffalo. Meanwhile, for the Pittsburgh Penguins, they got themselves a win in this trade because they got their guy. Straight up. They wanted Erik Karlsson, they got Erik Karlsson, and it cost them a bunch of stuff. Like, I don't want to make it seem like Jeff Petrie and Casey DeSmith are, like, terrible assets, but it's not like the Penguins traded away any huge significant pieces of their core to get this Karlsson trade done. For the most part, they swapped out Petrie's spot in the lineup with Karlsson, and they traded Casey DeSmith whilst being in the process of incorporating Tristan Jarry into that full-time #1 spot. So, all things considered, when you review each of these teams, the Montreal Canadiens got rid of 2 assets that they flipped into a bunch of picks. The guys that they got rid of weren't really the most impressive or long-term projectable names, but the Canadiens used their cap space to their advantage in this trade to walk away with a bunch of extra draft capital. The San Jose Sharks got out from that Erik Karlsson deal, and they acquired one of their better scorers in years to all of a sudden play a top-of-the-line role. Meanwhile, for the Penguins, they win this trade because they got their guy, and at the end of the day, every single person is happy. Which is always sort of funny, you know? Like, I always say this, but if you have a trade or a trade proposal, if both teams' fan bases hate it, then I think it's probably a good trade. If both teams' fan bases love it, then of course, it's a great trade. But this is like the one odd time where you have yourself 3 teams all involved in one trade, and everybody is happy. JFresh went out there and responded to the NHL Network post saying, hey, it's a win-win trade, I don't care. And a bunch of people went out there and replied, JFresh says, though, Pittsburgh obviously comes off worse than the other 2, but Erik Karlsson rules, and I'd rather be watching him while the team's wheels fall off than Jan Ruda, Petrie, and Granlund. And that's another part I think that is really being under-discussed here. Mikael Granlund wasn't really much with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Like, he had his chance, he had his opportunity, but he just did not find ways to convert well in that system. He had 5 points in 21 games. Going over to San Jose, though, huge revitalization to his career. That is the #1 center option that was always supposed to be there in Minnesota. Maybe he's not like a true #1. Maybe he's only a #1 because he's on San Jose. But given #1 minutes, Mikael Granlund actually did some good work this year. And for the Sharks to get this player out of a deal where they gave up a super expensive aging out Karlsson, I mean, they can't help but feel happy about that. Let's read some of the other tweets here from the JFresh thread. I honestly think every team and maybe all the fan bases came out happy from this. And yeah, that's kind of the argument that I'm making over here. There's no way you can possibly frame this as a win for Pittsburgh, Quaff says. JFresh replies saying they traded the 13th overall pick and some garbage for cap space and the reigning Norris winner who was by far their best defenseman last year and was excellent at 5v5. So, with all this in mind, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about the Erik Karlsson trade 1 year later? If you're a fan of the Canadiens, you're a fan of the Sharks, you're a fan of the Penguins, what are your opinions on this deal, and who do you think won? I'm arguing here that all 3 teams involved won in some respect. They all got what they wanted, and they all gave up stuff that they could have very well afforded to give up. Nobody overpaid for anything here. Pittsburgh got their guy, San Jose got a guy, they got out of the contract they wanted to get out of, and the Canadiens got some draft picks. So everybody around here is happy, right? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about this trade 1 year later? And who do you think was the ultimate victor? Thoughts in the comment section below. Habs fans, Penguins fans, Sharks fans. It's the rare time where we can all come together and discuss one of the biggest trades the NHL has seen in years. And I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section about it. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.